And you go here beside Mummy's chair.
Amy, can you get your coat on?
Mummy, can I wear my red one?
No, love, we didn't bring that with us.
Okay, can I bring my playhouse? Mummy, do loads of people live here? What does orange man mean, Mummy? That's like my bike, isn't it?
That's lovely. What's that?
It's a picture from my house.
There's a common street.
Mummy, where do we live? Where did the buses sleep at night? Which one are you getting? Mummy, when can we go back to our own house?
Someday soon, love.
At the end of the day, every child needs their own home. Focus Ireland, ending homelessness every day.
Good evening, everyone. And on behalf of the entire team at Focus Ireland, you're very welcome to our annual thank you event. Usually this event takes place in the Westbury in Dublin, but obviously coming together isn't possible due to the ongoing pandemic. And although our friends in the Westbury are with us in spirit, they have reassured me that we can all be together again for this event in their fabulous venue again next year. So here we all are on Zoom in a year that has been unlike any other. I'm glad we could still hold this event. And one of the benefits of Zoom is that we get to speak to you, our supporters, across the entire country, something which isn't always possible with in-person events. And tonight is a special occasion for us at Focus Ireland, one in which we get to say thank you to all of you for the support and work you have given Focus Ireland over the past year, and what a year it has been. Every single one of us has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic in one way or another. For me, that's what makes tonight's event extra special. In a year where every person has faced their own hardships like never before, you all came out and supported Focus Ireland's work at a time when it was most crucial. We are deeply humbled by your commitment to our vision of ending homelessness. Every person on this call has contributed to Focus Ireland, be it in a volunteer capacity in one of our services, maybe as a participant and fundraiser in activities such as our virtual marathon, the Next Step, the virtual Camino, or sleeping out at Shine a Light Night. Maybe working with us on some of our innovative campaigns. Your company may have a partnership with us or help us deliver our services. You may be a board member or a subcommittee member, or you may donate to us in a private capacity, working with our staff to ensure your donation has maximum impact. In whatever form, your support has not gone unnoticed, and it is not unappreciated. We could not do our work without you. Thank you. By being here tonight, I know you share Focus Ireland's belief that homelessness is fundamentally wrong and that it can be solved. Every single person deserves a safe place they can call home, and yet homelessness is still one of the most complex and pressing issues in Ireland. Your continued support helps us to remain dedicated to helping those who are most vulnerable in our communities. As we entered 2020, over 10,000 people were experiencing homelessness in Ireland, including nearly 4,000 children. Back in February, we had a general election and a new government with a new programme for government was formed during the summer. And this is always an important time for Focus Ireland, as a change in the leadership of the country can bring about change in policies, budgets and services. I know many of you on this call lobbied your local candidates to end the homelessness crisis. And I want to thank you for doing this, as it resulted in some key wins in progressing Ireland into a country where homelessness does not exist. And our Director of Advocacy, Mike Allen, will speak about this later in the call. And then in March, everything changed. The coronavirus pandemic swept across the globe and life changed almost overnight. None of us had ever faced a challenge like this before. But our challenge at Focus Ireland was, What did this mean for the thousands of people experiencing homelessness? And what would we do to cater for their needs? The public health advice was and still is to stay at home and to keep a safe distance. But for most of our customers, this instruction is almost impossible, especially if you're living in a hotel, a B&B or a shelter. At Focus Ireland, we've always known our work is essential and is a frontline service. So with your support, we diversified everything we did. Where possible, people began working from home. Our family centre and coffee shop remained open to provide meals and care packs through socially distant takeaway services. One-to-one and case working sessions moved online and were held via Zoom and Teams. When online meetings were not possible, we supplied our staff and customers with the now famous PPE to ensure the meetings could go ahead. We opened a shielding facility in Dublin's South City Centre to allow our most vulnerable customers to live in a socially distant manner for the duration of the pandemic. And all of this work has resulted in an extremely low instance of the physical COVID-19 virus across our services. However, as we all know now, the mental health aspects of COVID are just as concerning as the physical virus, and our staff have been supporting people through this from the outset. You may have heard the news that there's been a drop in the number of people experiencing homelessness in Ireland since the beginning of the pandemic. And with the restrictions in place, more rental properties becoming available on the market, we were able to move families into these properties and provide them with a safe, secure home, which provided shelter from the coronavirus. In fact, Focus Ireland has supported 1,180 households to move to new homes so far this year. And none of this work would have been possible without your support. With everything going on in 2020, it would have been very easy for you to focus on your own lives and weather the pandemic. But instead, you knew Focus Ireland and people experiencing homelessness needed your support. You remained committed. You slept out. You ran. You walked. You had phone calls and attended virtual meetings like this. You were there when we needed you, and all of Focus Ireland are so grateful. So much so, by the end of October 2020, we have helped over 10,000 people exit homelessness or avoid homelessness altogether. Now, because of you, more children can aspire and dream. Young people can reach their full potential and families can grow and develop. Through this, you have inspired us. And in the face of a crisis in homelessness, you are the people we turn to. We thank you for being there. I'm going to hand over now to Focus Ireland's founder and life president, Sister Stan, to say a few words.
Thank you, Pat. And thank you all for joining us this evening. We're delighted that you are with us. And as Pat said, we're sorry that it cannot be in person, but doing it on Zoom is the best we can do. And we're doing this to thank you, our supporters. We are deeply indebted to our community of supporters around the country. This year, as Pat said, we've helped over 10,000 homeless people to either exit homelessness or not get into the cycle in the first place. And we simply could not have done that without your support. From the beginning, Focus Ireland's vision was that everybody has a right to a place they can call home. And our mission was to help people exit homelessness and prevent them from getting into it. And these remain the same today as it was 35 years ago. And that's what distinguishes Focus Ireland from other organisations. We believe, as Pat said, that homelessness is fundamentally wrong. It robs people of their dignity, it robs children of their childhood, and it damages the whole of society. So we must continue to work to alleviate homelessness and to work towards its elimination. Way back in 1987, 2 years after the founding of Focus Ireland, there was an international conference on homelessness in Dublin. And I spoke at it, and I said that within the following 6 or 7 years, we could eliminate long-term homelessness if we had the housing. and we could have. But unfortunately, successive governments reneged on their promises, and that passed the responsibility for provision of housing onto the private sector. And so the houses weren't built. And so the numbers of that became homeless increased and increased year upon year. And they remained longer and longer homeless. And so the situation worsened year upon year until we have a situation today where there are over 8,700 people homeless in Ireland, and 2,600 of those are children. This is more than a crisis. This is a disaster. 2020, as Pat said, was a year like no other. It changed all our lives, but it particularly affected vulnerable people, and that included homeless people. Where were we all told to go this year to feel safe? We were told to stay safe and stay home. But what about the people who didn't have a home to go to? The harsh reality is that an average of 3 families became homeless every day during the last year. Many of them forced to live in hotel rooms in very restricted circumstances. And this was even worsened during COVID because some of them, many of them, were in hotel rooms in remote areas. And because they couldn't travel more than 5 kilometres, they were entirely segregated and isolated. This was awful, and it was totally unsuitable for families and particularly for children. Focus Ireland has worked over the past year with renewed zeal. So we had to adjust what we did in order to stay safe and in keeping with guidelines. We helped to remove a record number out of households out of homelessness. We supported 1,180 households out of homelessness. And we not only provided them with houses, but we also provided support to ensure that they exited homelessness for good. And we're very proud of what we've achieved over the past year. And we couldn't, as I said earlier, have done it without your support. You are our supporters, you are our donors, and you did many different things, whether it was fundraising, whether it was donating, whether it was fundraising, organising events, whether it was campaigning, whether serving on committees, in so many different ways. But your help was phenomenal. And we really, really appreciate it because you have shone the light on what is a terrible problem in Ireland. It is, as I said, not just a crisis, it is a disaster. But you have helped us to give hope to so many. You've helped us to restore people's dignity, and you've helped us to give children back their childhood. And this goes on, and the next year won't be easy. So I am hoping that you will continue to support us, just as you did over the past year. So thank you, and I would like to wish you and your families a very happy and peaceful Christmas.
Lockdown wasn't easy. Homeschooling, working from home. I mean, we had to adapt, like everyone, I guess. The kids were fine, but they missed their friends.
It just feels like a never-ending nightmare. Of course you feel isolated, disempowered, trapped, just waiting on the day.
Dwelling on the future certainly didn't help. There was just so much uncertainty.
I try to stay positive. I really do. But everything just feels so hopeless.
More than anything, I just missed giving my parents a hug. We just wanted to get back to normal life.
Hello?
Hi Yvonne, it's Claire here from Focus Ireland. Great news. We have a place for you. We're getting the keys tomorrow.
Now my family can get back to normal life too.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for those few words. We now hear from our Director of Advocacy, Mike Allen.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this thank you event. Very different than the thank you events of recent years. I think in the invitation there was a suggestion you might, like in previous years, have a mince pie and a glass of mulled wine with you, but I don't see any in any of those little cameras. Maybe the people who've got their cameras off are the ones who are indulging in the mulled wine. But we're here to celebrate, to thank you, to talk about what we achieved during an extremely difficult year, and to talk about what we hope to achieve next year. Sister Stan, our founder, and Pat, our CEO, have talked about what makes Focus Ireland unique. To me, one of the things that makes us unique is not only do we do the frontline work that the videos have showed you, and we've talked about the numbers of families and individuals that we've helped, but we recognize that no matter how good that work is on the ground, we're not going to end homelessness case by case. Every single person, every single child, every single family that we help is magnificent. But we can keep on doing that year after year, decade after decade, unless we change the system. And it's that link between what we do on the front line and what our staff do with our customers, with what we say about how the world should change, that makes Focus Ireland special and makes it such a powerful organization. And that's where so much of your contribution has come in. This was, as our CEO Pat has said, it was a particular year in we only get a chance to have some sort of say in a general election every 4 to 5 years, and this came up this year. And what we did in running into that election is we identified a number of issues that we thought would make a big difference. You can approach this by sort of listing maybe 50, 60 different issues that you think need to happen to make a difference. We've done that in the past, and it makes a contribution. But this time, given how large the scale of homelessness is, how complex it is, and how interrelated to things like building of homes and our economic well-being, we felt we needed to pick 4 or 5 key issues that we were going to drive home and really specifically look for. So if we get them into the programme for government, if we get them into government actions, we can then work out to disentangle the 10, 15, 20 specific actions which we believe are behind them. And the first major action that we looked for running into the election was a commitment to end youth homelessness. And we ran a really powerful campaign going out to Body and Soul and other youth festivals, collecting petitions, getting support behind the idea that we need to end youth homelessness. It's a forgotten form of homelessness. Over 1,000, the time over 1,000 under 25-year-old, 18 to 25-year-old young adults were homeless. And we know that homelessness at that time in your life can lead to a whole lifetime of homelessness. We got a huge campaign behind that, and we got that into the program. We got that into the manifestos of most of the political parties. A second big theme was family homelessness. It's a complicated, deep issue, and it's very different in many respects from the traditional form of single adult homelessness that we've worked with so hard with in the past. We believe there needs to be a specific dedicated strategy, probably a change in the legislation, to recognize the dynamics of family homelessness and move it from the current level, crisis level that it is, to bring it to an end. The third area that we looked for was a right to housing. That doesn't mean a free home for everybody, which some people seem to misrepresent it to mean. It means a statement that we believe that the goal, Focus Ireland goal, that everybody has a right to a place they call their home, should be in our constitution. That's so important because so many of the different things that we think are answers or solutions, such as greater control over rents or greater security of people's homes, or using so much of our property and land which is lying empty. We've been told year after year that we can't do anything about that because the way we've interpreted our constitution means those are against the constitution. And putting a right to a home in the constitution will balance it out and give us a chance of actually making that difference. And the fourth thing we looked for was about the amount of housing that we need. We need to, the ESRI and the Business Federation both said that we need to build about 30 to 35,000 new homes every year if we're just to meet the demand for new homes from everybody, not just the homeless, but young people growing up, older people downsizing, people coming into the country to work. That's the sort of number of housing units we need, and we've been producing far, far less than that. And the commitment we looked for there was a long-term commitment, because we don't want to produce 35,000 homes next year and then fall into another crash the year after. And this pattern of boom and bust in terms of the housing market is something that really needs to change. And we backed an idea supported by a wide range of people for a commission on housing that would take a 20, 30-year look at what we need to do with our economy and our planning and our society if we're going to have sustainable housing at that sort of number over a significant number of years. So we, as Pat mentioned, we asked all our supporters to lobby their TDs. We contacted all the offices of the political parties, and we drove a campaign to get this into the manifestos. It was very successful in terms of where we got, but manifestos are only half the story. When the three parties were then forming the government, we lobbied again to get as much of what was in the manifesto that we needed into the programme for government. A good outcome, a strategy to end youth homelessness, a commitment for a referendum around housing, and the commitment to the Commission on Housing, all there in the manifesto. Not there, though, was a commitment around family homelessness, and not there was a commitment to end homelessness overall. So what we're working on now is on the three things that we got in, which we really welcome, really positive, and working with the government, the new ministers, to turn those into reality and bring them forward. But also not giving up on the other issues too. And I just want to say a couple of words before I finish about the End Homelessness campaign, the idea that we are capable of bringing homelessness to an end. Clearly, on any night, there may be a row in a family, somebody might leave a family, there might be a fire, there might be something that happens that causes a person to become homeless that night. So you're never going to end homelessness in the sense that there will never be anybody who becomes homeless. But we can end it in the sense that there are not very many people homeless, and those who are homeless are only for a very short time until emergency is dealt with. In the past, we had a commitment to that, and it's really important to see that this matters. So countries which have done so well in ending homelessness, and the biggest example is Finland, started with the commitment to end homelessness. It took them many years to do it, but they said, look, this is something we can do, and we can bring homelessness down. And in terms of the way that we count homelessness, in Finland, there's only one emergency shelter with about 40 people in it, and nobody is there for more than a couple of months. You just have to go back 15 years, and they had the same sort of problem as we have now. They didn't just do it because they thought it was because it was a general sort of sense that we'll get there. They had to have that commitment to end homelessness. And even in our own history, it's really important to remember that in the beginning of this century, there was a commitment of all political parties that we could end homelessness, and we planned to end long-term homelessness by 2010 and rough sleeping at the same time. And in 2008, when the crisis has already hit us, the economic global crisis, we had managed to get homelessness down to its lowest ever level of just over 1,300 households. There are now 6,000 households. That's over 8,000 human beings, but they're in 6,000 households. So 4 times as many households homeless now as there was when we were trying to end homelessness. Now, all that we didn't achieve it. The global economic crisis and the things we did during that period knocked that off course. But what we achieved during that period shows how important that idea is. And over the Christmas, New Year, we'll be launching a campaign, which we hope you will back, calling on this government to add to what it said about homelessness, that it is committed to ending it. We're not asking for a specific date at this point. That would be rather foolish just to pull a date out of the air. But we are asking them to bring everybody around a table over 2021 and set a date where we believe it realistically we can bring homelessness to an end. That may be 10 years from now, that may be 15 years from now. But if we are working towards it, we believe that we can achieve it. So that sort of interaction between our frontline, what our customers say to us, what our tenants say to us, what our frontline staff say to us, what we know about homelessness from that level, what we know about homelessness from our international work, what we know about homelessness from our research. We bring those all together to what we believe is a really potent mix, which, if listened to with your backing, with your support, can actually make a difference and put us on a direction which we were in the past and we can be again, to bring homelessness to an end. Sometimes when we talk about this, we end up talking a little bit as if all this happens in Dublin. We have a bit of a tendency to see it all happening around Leinster House and the Custom House and so on. But we know when we're lobbying, when we're talking to people and when we're campaigning, when we're doing our daily work, that it's not just in Dublin, it's right across the country. And that's why it's really important that we've got Jess Bland, who's our manager for Cork and Limerick, and has done really innovative and extraordinary work in both those cities and across that area to talk to you this evening. So I'd like to leave you now and hand you over to Jess Bland. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. So I suppose, to say the least, since March of this year has been a very challenging time for us and for services. But I suppose not just to focus on the challenge, it has given us a tremendous amount of opportunities as well. And it has shown that it has really bring out the best, I think, in humanity and the qualities of humanity, and particularly among our staff and our service users and our customers and our tenants. And that has allowed us to maintain our services and to continue on working through the pandemic and providing support. And with your support, we have been able to maintain our services, and we have been able to support our service users and our tenants during the ongoing pandemic. Our staff and service users have been very flexible and very adaptive to the new environment and new way of working and the new way of living they have found themselves in. They've shown an incredible amount of resilience, and while people who have experienced homelessness a lot would live kind of high risk lifestyles, and there was a fear at the time when the pandemic started that the virus would rip through homeless services and it would put a huge burden on our staff and on our customers and what we would do. But in fact, in our area and the regions we work in, it has been managed quite well. And that's down largely to the commitment and the flexibility of the staff, but also to the service users and to our customers and how they have adapted to the environment. It's shown to be homeless and to survive homelessness shows an incredible amount of resilience. And I think that has been really shown in the pandemic and how people have responded to that. There has been a real kind of, I suppose the Irish saying of under the shelter of each other we survive has really taken on a new meaning and has really come to the fore. And that has really happened. There's been a real mehel in terms of statutory agencies, in terms of other homeless services, Focus Ireland staff coming together, doing their best they can, taking on the virus, taking on all the challenges they present, and coming out and coming through that very strong. So along with maintaining normal supports, staff have been quite innovative and quite adaptive in terms of the new way of working and the new way of providing support. So while face-to-face or physical contact was, following HSE guidelines and so forth, was at a minimum, it nonetheless did happen, and staff did continue to provide that level of support in a safe way to our customers, to our tenants. Phone, WhatsApp, all the various different social media platforms were used to continue to provide support, so that in a sense that while people may feel lonely from time to time, we needed to let them know that they were not alone and that we were there for them all the time. And that's why it was important for us to maintain and to keep our services up and running and our offices opened during the pandemic. And staff, despite their worries about their own family and the effect the virus could have on their own families and and their wider community, their focus was on looking after our customers, providing the best services possible, doing as best they can, bringing those who are in isolation, bringing them food, bringing them medication, looking after them. Our staff, even in the midst of it all, produced a wellness book for our customers. and put an awful lot of time and effort into that, and the production of which was fantastic, and sent that out to all our tenants. And it was a very simple book with recipes, mental health tips, any you could need, and of course, most importantly, contact. But yet again, it was about keeping that contact. So, like, our ability to maintain our service is down to the expertise and forward thinking of us as an organisation, and the quality and commitment of our staff, but also to your ongoing support. We could not do any of this without your support. I suppose the other opportunity it has allowed us is that people have moved quicker out of homelessness and into housing, particularly in our region. Now, homelessness is still at crisis levels, but new ways of thinking, new ways of operating, different levels of bureaucracy have been taken out of the system to allow that to happen quicker. And I think what has also shown to us is that Focus Ireland, as Mike has already referred to it, that the Focus Ireland own door housing model has proved a very effective way in managing and controlling the spread of the virus. And that is seen right across the region that I'm responsible for. So I suppose overall across the Southwest and Midwest region, through your support, we were able to provide over 250 units of accommodation across a wide range of projects, working with a wide range of people and groups, families and singles, focusing particularly on singles and on young people leaving care, expanding and developing our Housing First projects, our tenancy support, focusing on prevention, on preparation for education, training and employment as a key part of that, prison and our mental health projects as well. And so I suppose for the purpose of this evening, if I could just focus on two of our projects in the Midwest and Southwest. And just say our youth housing project came about because of the numbers of young people who were leaving state care and ending up in emergency homeless accommodation. Their life projection was not very favorably. So we had to intervene in this. And so since its inception, the youth housing project in the Midwest and Southwest has prevented over 100 young people from becoming homeless. And over the last number of years, we've had a number of people young people who have been homeless, who've come into the service and who are now in third level education. So currently we have 10 young people in Cork, we have 10 young people in UCC or the CIT. We have one individual who came to our service, Mark, a number of years ago, and he's in his final year of his degree. And Mark's story is quite interesting because Mark went from being a service user of the local drugs task force to now working with the local drugs task force and assisting in creating their care and case management handbook, which is a tremendous success for us. It's also important for us as a staff group and as a management team that we use the funding that we receive either through donations or through strategy for the best interest of our customers and our tenants. And we provide the services that most benefit them. And I suppose where that has got us this year is that this year our mental health project, which is the North Tipperary Intensive Sustainment Project, has won a HSE National HSE Innovation Award, which I just happen to have here. That's our award. That looks a bit small now, so you might be able to see it. So I might just do something to rectify that. There's the bigger one. I mean, we're not in this to get awards, but it's a validation. Our biggest validation of our work is how our customers respond to how we change or impact on their lives. That validation came from one of our main funders, which is the HSE, and that was a national award. There was stiff competition for it, and our project won it. And we're very proud of that, very proud of the team, and very proud of the work that we have done. So I suppose going like last year, despite the fact that we had a pandemic and everything that was going on, there was an incredible amount of work done, and projects expanded. So we increased our housing stock. We employed a regional development manager to assist us in increasing our housing stock, and we expanded into Kerry, which is absolutely fantastic, given that Stan is from Kerry. It's also fantastic because as a Tipperary man going to Kerry as Munster football champions, it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm also thankful that I don't manage anything in Mayo. But so we've expanded, and that expansion is not going to end here. In 2021, we will expand our Housing First projects into Cork County, into Kerry, and into Clare. So we will have a big footprint in Kerry next year. We're also, because youth housing is an integral part of our strategy. So, and as is Housing First. So Housing First, the way it operates at the moment is you work with long-term rough sleepers, entrenched rough sleepers, who tend to be in the kind of, late 30s, 40s, 50s, that age group. And that's the sustained exit. So you get them out of homelessness, you put them into their own accommodation, and you sustain them in that, and you ensure that they don't go back. But what's to prevent the next generation from taking their place? And what does that is our youth housing project. So we intervene at the very start, and we prevent young people from becoming homeless and becoming entrenched in homelessness. So it's at the two ends of the spectrum in terms of our strategy. And that's why, and because of that, and thankfully we worked quite well, and it's largely down to the work and the commitment of our staff, that we have a very good reputation in the regions we work in. And because of that, now we're able to expand our youth housing project in Limerick, in the Midwest next year, with an addition of 2 extra staff. And also what's happening is now that the local authorities in North Tip, in Clare and Limerick are coming together and are a unification of services so that resources can be used better and they can be more impactful. I suppose finally, just to say that there is a deep appreciation for the support you give us. And kind of while I've glossed and I've described the practical positive consequences of your support, I have to say that, from working on the ground in frontline, it is felt at a much deeper level. And I always try to convey that to people. And in some cases, it places too much of a burden on language to describe how your support helps us to maintain the services and the impact you have on people's lives. And the only way I have to describe it is that you can see how your support impacts on that by the smile on a child's face, in the freedom of their laughter, when they become, as Stan has already said, when they can become, Stan has already said, it robs children of their childhood. You're giving that child their childhood back. The freedom of their laughter, when they move out of emergency accommodation into their own home. You can see it in the faces of their parents when the strain and burden of homelessness is lifted from them as they move into a new home, a new life, and a new future. So thank you very much for your support. And finally, I would like, on behalf of the staff in the regions, I would like to wish you, your families, and all of those you hold dear a very happy, a very peaceful, and a very safe Christmas, and a less interesting 2021. Thank you very much, and I'll hand you back to Pat.
Thanks very much, Ger. You may have seen in your invitation that we were to be joined by a customer tonight. However, Priscilla has just moved into her new home. So new, in fact, that her broadband hasn't been set up yet. So unfortunately, she couldn't be with us tonight. There's the trials of Zoom, I suppose. What I hope tonight has shown the breadth of the work Focus Ireland can achieve when we have supporters like you helping us. Our vision of ending homelessness in Ireland is not a pipe dream. It can be a reality. And at Focus Ireland, we know we can achieve this goal together. There's work to be done. There are still nearly 9,000 people experiencing homelessness in Ireland, including over 2,500 children. And over the past 9 months, we've witnessed a 49% increase in demand for our services. With mass unemployment, an expected recession, and emergency rental protections lifting in 2021, we predict this figure to grow. But to meet this demand, we will need your help. Hopefully, we're on the cusp of a vaccination for COVID-19, and soon, hopefully, lockdowns will be distant memories. I've no doubt 2021 will be a better year for us all, but homelessness has no place in this new world. The pandemic has taught us at Focus Ireland one thing: real impact can happen when we all work together. The lessons we've learned over the past year need to be applied as we come out of the pandemic. At Focus Ireland, we don't want things to go back to normal. We want to live in a country where every single person has a safe, secure place to call home. In spring 2021, Focus Ireland will launch our new 5-year strategy on how we plan to combat the homeless crisis in the coming years. Keep an eye on your inboxes, because we want to engage with you. We want you to engage with us on this strategy to end homelessness. We know we can do it together. Your support has brought us to the point and changed so many lives for the better. Thank you so much. I speak for the entire team at Focus Ireland and all of our customers when I say we're extremely grateful for your commitment to end homelessness. Thank you. And like Jar and the rest of the team, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. I leave you with this short video on how you've helped us change lives and end homelessness for so many this year. Good night and thank you.
Focus Ireland continues to work to really support people for their homeless, but while preventing people from becoming homeless and helping people to exit homelessness.
Focus Ireland has always had a proud history of looking to change government policy ever since Stan first established our organisation in 1985 to look at how we can help lift people out of homelessness and prevent them from becoming homeless in the first place. What policies need to be put in place to achieve this? A big win this year was getting 4 things in the programme for government. If I can just focus in on one in particular, it's a commitment to develop a family homeless strategy, which will look at what services, funding and accommodation need to be put in place to quickly reduce the number of families becoming homeless and end this terrible crisis as soon as possible.
When COVID-19 hit our services, the one thing that we wanted to do was keep our customers safe. Firstly, we all came together and made sure that in all our services, everyone was following best practice guidelines. At the start of the pandemic, we were asked by the HSE to open up a cocooning facility for the most medically vulnerable population in the homeless community. We opened up a service in South Dublin within a 3-day turnaround, and one resident on moving in said that he felt like he had won the lotto. One of the great ways that Focus Ireland was able to adapt during the pandemic was to be able to bring customers together in a different way. We were able to provide classes online so that participants in our preparation for education, training and employment were able to log online and participate in all the courses that they needed. Some were able to successfully complete their courses, and one participant even went on to work in the front line of the healthcare sector. Over 10,000 customers have engaged with Focus Ireland services since the start of 2020, and nearly 90% of those customers have used our services during the pandemic.
Retired to saying that with the homeless situation I'm not going to get a place, so I said a little prayer to Jesus. It sounds mad, but yeah, I did, and I asked him to help me get me place. And I think a week later I got a phone call for a viewing, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? That prayer book, like. Yeah. And next I says, yeah, no problem, gone. Looked at the place, I said, yeah, that's it, taking it. And then we went into lockdown. I was like, oh, how am I going to get my keys now? But I knew the place was there, so I was just joyous, like just over the moon. And then the staff in the hostel that I was staying in, they helped with a virtual signing, and then my keys were dropped off. I have them here. Did you?
Wow.
And I was just over the moon, delighted.
I moved to Ireland from the UK and became homeless. While I was homeless, I was pregnant and was on the streets for many months. I also split with my partner, and then I got involved with Focus Island. I don't know where I'd be now without Focus Island Pete, or where my son would be, because I have a secure home. My self-confidence has grown. I have enjoyed doing all the courses, and it's made me realise what I want to do in the future.
We'd really like to say thanks to you for your great support of our work. It wouldn't be possible without you. So thanks very much for all your support again this year.
On behalf of everyone working in Focus Ireland Frontline Services, we would like to say thank you. Without your support, we cannot do this work.
It was strange as well to have my own place, and I kept having to tell myself, like, yeah, this is your place. You have your place. Yeah, it was just like a dream.